In 1910, the Mann Act was put into effect stating that it was illegal to use interstate for transportation of females for immoral purposes.
The primary purpose of the Mann Act was to address prostitution, immorality, and human trafficking.
Okay, here we are at a truck stop, and we learned through our research that there are many occurrences of prostitution at truck stops where girls know that the truckers have been here for a long time and on the road, so they come to sell. They come to sell themselves, or there are other instances of abduction. Okay, we also learned that there are many abductions at truck stops of minors, and the truck drivers would be, for instance, the pimp and selling the abductee to other truck drivers at the truck stop for their own profit.
Prostitution often occurs at truck stops and motels where they offer longer periods of stay.
Okay, oftentimes prostitution occurs in hotels like these where you can stay weeks at a time with no questions asked. And officers are allowed to come to the hotels and ask the front desk for their bookings. And they look for the period of time that people are staying and their type of payment. And if they usually pay in cash and they're staying over a week, they often occur that it's a lead to a pimp or prostitution or drug dealing. So then they will set up a sting to find the prostitute or the pimp at the time.
Prostitution is very closely linked with poverty, especially in inner city areas. Okay, so like Morgan said, prostitution often occurs in hotels such as this where you stay for extended periods of time without being asked, and like she said, officers look for people who pay in cash because if it's a credit card, that's easily trackable, like to the person's name and stuff. So if you pay for cash, you can come to a hotel like this. You can stay for extended periods of time in a closed room where a pimp can stay and have prostitutes leaving in and out, staying there, going out to work. And also, like, often drug dealers will stay here too, which is really closely linked with prostitution. But it's very difficult for police to prove prostitution because they need to be able to see the actual act happening or get someone to sign a citizen's arrest who has witnessed it. So they have a lot of tricks they can play. They first will check the listing, who paid how, and then also they can they see like a suspicious car, they'll run plates, and if they have past like felonies or things on their record, on their criminal record, that will give them another lead. In suburban areas, prostitution is much less prevalent, but in city areas, prostitutes will physically stand out on the street waiting for work. Okay, so the act of prostitution is actually only a misdemeanor for the prostitute themselves, but the pimp can get charged with promoting prostitution, which is a felony, and they can get way higher consequences and way worse charges than a prostitute would get for misdemeanors. And also, like, just recently, not that long ago, there was a man who was doing drug trafficking with underage girls. They were minors, which then tied into prostitution, so that was like completely illegal. And then the pimp and the drug trafficker got like horrible consequences, but the prostitutes are just misdemeanors. One common misconception about the Mall of America is that it is the #1 place in the Midwest for human trafficking. After interviewing Bloomington police who work at the mall, we found out that this is incorrect. Through 7 years of working, the officer had not seen any cases of human trafficking throughout the mall, but they do take precautions to prevent human trafficking within the mall, especially with minors.
The precaution that they take to make sure that minors are safe is the parent escort policy. This is a policy that states that anyone under the age of 16 needs a parent or guardian with them on Fridays or Saturdays after 4 p.m. And they have mall cops stationed everywhere, and if you don't look 16, they will stop people and ask you for your ID. And this is just a precaution so they can make sure that everyone is safe at the mall and everyone has a fun time. Here we are at a police station, and we're unable to record the interviews with the cops because it is illegal for the cops to be on a video for an interview unless you have a waiver. The law for prostitution is that you cannot solicit yourself for money, or you can't buy someone to do sexual favors for money. If you get caught doing the act, which is really hard for people to get prosecuted for it because you have to be caught doing the act, or you have to have someone agree to sign and say that it happened. So as the younger you are, the more severe the penalty is. If the person that you bought is 13 or younger, then the fine is $40,000 plus 20 years in prison. If the person is under 16 but older than 13, then the fine is $20,000 and 10 years in prison. If the person is under 18 but older than 16, then it's $10,000 and 5 years in prison. And if you get caught for engaging in prostitution in a school or park zone, then the fine goes up.
We relate our research question to the Progressive Era because the Mann Act was a first step towards bringing consequences to the act of human trafficking and prostitution.
Through our investigation, we found that if the progressive reform hadn't happened, there would be many more cases of abductions and prostitution without consequences and bringing justice to those involved.